Welcome back, friends. You are listening to the Juicebox Podcast.
My name is Kirby, and I'm a mom of a 8-year-old who was diagnosed just about a year ago with type 1 diabetes.
If this is your first time listening to the Juicebox Podcast and you'd like to hear more, download Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really any audio app at all. Look for the Juicebox Podcast and follow or subscribe. We put out new content every day that you'll enjoy. Want to learn more about your diabetes management? Go to juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu and look for Bold Beginnings, the Diabetes Pro Tip series, and much more. This podcast is full of collections and series of information that will help you to live better with insulin. While you're listening, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. I'd like to thank the Eversense 365 for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast and remind you that if you want the only sensor that gets inserted once a year and not every 14 days, you want the Eversense CGM. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. 1 year, 1 CGM. Today's podcast is sponsored by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox. You can get your diabetes supplies from the same place that we do. And I'm talking about Dexcom, Libre, Omnipod, Tandem, and so much more. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. This episode is sponsored by the Tandem Mobi system, which is powered by Tandem's newest algorithm, Control-IQ Plus technology. Tandem Mobi has a predictive algorithm that helps prevent highs and lows and is now available for ages 2 and up. Learn more and get started today at tandemdiabetes.com/juicebox.
My name is Kirby, and I'm a mom of a 8-year-old who was diagnosed just about a year ago with type 1 diabetes.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll get to that, but Kirby and I were having way too good of a time speaking before we started recording, so I just hit record very quickly. Now, we have 2 things to talk about, the way I say it.
Okay. Is that all?
The first one, well, I mean, from the get-go.
Okay.
The first one is my assertion that people are just wandering through the world unaware of each other.
You're right.
And that I feel like that might be getting worse. It's not just me getting older and being a bigger complainer.
But that 2 things can be true.
Right.
Both can be true.
Thank you, Kirby. I appreciate that very much, that you can't just let me have it for a second. But I think maybe the other thing we have to talk about is, like, why do I have so much anger about my vision getting worse?
Right.
But there was something else in there. What was the other thing?
Your friend caught a murderer.
Okay. So Kirby and I are talking.
All very related.
I use a completely ridiculous example of something about why I have my file naming system the way I have it. And I said, because like 5 years from now, when I get a note that says, hey, you had this person named Kirby on your show one time and they murdered 3 people and we need you to find the recording, I need to be able to find it. And she laughed because that's silly. Then I said, hey, she said something about like, you might catch a murderer one day. And Kirby felt like you were being sarcastic.
No.
And I said, my friend of mine caught a murderer once. And then
we had to share.
Yes. And now I will tell you about it. Okay. So my friend is a mortician. And
not where I thought that would go.
Yeah. See, now you feel like there's a story here.
There is a story.
He was preparing a body of an older person, and he was doing all the things he does, and he checked the airway down the throat and everything as part of his process. And he felt like he saw something, and he looked and felt like he did see something, got a forceps, I believe, and tried to find out what it was. And what it was, do you want to guess?
A bouncy ball.
It was a rag.
Oh my.
Someone, this poor person's neighbor, for reasons I don't remember. Maybe he didn't even know when he was telling the story. An elderly person's neighbor accosted them and jammed a rag down their throat and suffocated them.
For the love.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then he called the police and did all the things, and they caught the person that did it.
So wouldn't they, like when they collected the body, First of all, I didn't think I would say that sentence this morning, by the way. But wouldn't they like check for that?
So I think the person was old enough that they were just deceased.
Natural causes.
Yeah, and they just probably thought that's what was going on there. Your question should be the indicator from what he told me of how far the person somehow jammed the rag down the person's throat.
That is wild.
Yeah, that it was not obvious.
Huh.
Yep.
That's quite a story.
So there you go.
There you go. I said bouncy ball because my kids have been taking to putting bouncy balls in their mouth and I keep having to tell them to stop. So I immediately pictured that happening. So
are they big enough that they could not swallow them, or?
I feel like everything could get in there. I just
How old are your
sorry.
How old are the kids?
So I've got an 8-year-old, that's my type 1, and then 2 4.5-year-old twins, all boys. So like everything's just always very chaotic and feels like it needs attention.
It's the twins putting the balls in I'm sorry. No, I almost said balls in their mouth.
Well, now you did. So there you go.
It's the older one doing it?
They all do it. Yeah. Like he'll look at me and be like, look. And I'm like, stop it.
Are there any other indications your kids are a little dumb, or is this the only one so far?
Look, I feel like this is fair exploration of, the world around them, right? At some point they'll stop, I think.
Oh, yeah, sure. Wait. I'm still staring at my kids going like, is that ever going to end? I'm looking at myself and think, I mean, honestly, I'm looking at myself thinking the same thing, because to your point, I'm sitting here trying to type your name in and I can't see. And instead of just putting my glasses on, I just sit here pissed. And you're like, oh my God, I heard you talking about this in the podcast recently. I'm like, yeah, I'm not making it up. I'm angry that I can't see.
This is the equivalent of putting the bouncy ball in your mouth.
You think?
It's just like a mature version of it. You're doing something repeatedly that is not serving you well.
So you think that me not wearing glasses is the equivalent of me putting balls in my mouth? Oh, we should call this episode Deez Nuts. You want to do that?
Oh my God. Of all of the things that floated through my head of what you would decide to call this, that was not one of the options.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Oh my God. My husband would be just thrilled. So,
yeah.
I mean, he would go just celebrate.
Arden went on a Deez Nuts tear for like 3 weeks this summer.
What is that? Just said it all the time?
Oh, just all the time about anything that got said. She was delighted by it like she was 5 years old for about 3 weeks.
I can't wait for the trend to end. I don't know how long this one will be around, but I might be a little over it. I'm over Deez Nuts.
Yeah, well, you've been married for a while. Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
so. This is taking a turn.
Well, I don't know what we're going to talk about when this thing starts every time.
Rough. This is getting rough.
I'm trying to be upbeat today. The world got weird again yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be upbeat.
Weird. I am here for it.
Thank you. All right. So we've covered all the unimportant things. Actually, you know what? This may be a thing I do, because may I share something with you before we go on and talk about your kids' diabetes?
Of course.
Do you listen to the podcast?
I do.
Okay. So I think it's fairly obvious that I record daily with people who are not accustomed to being recorded.
Right.
And so the episodes all take on sort of a similar vibe in the beginning, because I ask people questions that they know the answers to. It's usually around their kids. Like, how old do your kids are? How old are you? Have you been married? Like, sometimes I'll say to somebody, are you married? And people are probably like, what the hell's that got to do with anything? What it has to do with it is they know the answer to it. And it's something they're going to be comfortable. Then they get themselves comfortable, and then I get them comfortable, and then we keep talking.
Makes sense.
But look how we did. I got you comfortable by talking about a dead body and Deez Nuts.
What does that say about me?
I don't know. But what I can tell you is that you gave off the vibe that I could do this. So
yeah, I don't know what that is. And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, I was going to share this episode with like family members. So now I'm going to have to,
you still can. We haven't said anything wrong.
We'll come with a disclaimer. Some of them might not even know what is happening right now. So, and I can always blame you. I got to follow the host lead.
Yeah, you just say, oh my God, I know the guy's crazy.
He's nuts.
I didn't want to. God knows how these things become
popular. I didn't
popular.
write an email pleading my case or anything.
No, I didn't send a long note about wanting to be on the podcast. Anyway, tell me about your family and how diabetes came into your life.
Sure. Okay, so I already said about our kids. So I'm married. We've been married. I'm not even going to try to guess.
Wait a minute.
12 years.
Kirby, you don't know how long you've been married?
I do. So this is what I do. Okay, all of the dates of all of the things in all of my life float around like a jumble in my head. And I sometimes forget when people were born. And there is a cutting board in my kitchen that my sister had made for me with my wedding anniversary on it, just the date. So it was 2013. And I just pictured a cutting board. So now I can do the math. It was 12 years.
Wow.
So I was trying to save you from that.
What a circuitous route you took to that. That was awesome. You and I might get along really well. This is going to be good. I know
how my brain works. This is going to be a good time.
So you only know how long you've been married because your sister bought you a cutting board with your wedding date on it.
That is a reductionist description of what I just said.
Is it? It's sort of what I do. I don't know if you realize what this is. I generalize things, then we talk.
Oh my gosh. It's how I do the math quick because we were together much longer than that. So we've been together like almost 20 years, So it's just like the dates are a jumble, like I said. So we've been married 12 years. Mm-hmm. So we've got 3 beautiful boys. And my oldest, my 8-year-old, was diagnosed. We're actually 5 days away from his first anniversary. So we're coming up on it. Mm-hmm.
This is only 361 days old.
Yeah, it's fresh. It feels fresh. It feels still fresh, even though we've come a long way.
I just want everyone to know it's 360. I just got the math wrong on that, right? Didn't I?
Well, I don't know. Is it a leap year?
How many? Good point.
No, it's not. I was trying to help you, but sorry. It's not.
I tried to do the simplest of math, and I did that wrong. I found myself going like, wait, 364, 365.
You need a cutting board with dates on it.
If I had a cutting board, it said how many days there were in a year. This all would have been much easier. That's 100% right. So you have these three lovely children.
Yeah.
The oldest one develops type 1 just a year ago. He's diagnosed.
Yeah.
Tell me what led you to believe that he had it. What got you to the doctor or hospital?
Yes. We had just come back from vacation. So we were in the Adirondacks. And typically we left like a week between vacation and when school started last year. It actually was just we got home the weekend before school started. And that's important because he started having some nighttime accidents. So he was wetting the bed overnight. And because we thought that was potentially related to the quick transition to school, because he had some history, he took a little bit longer to, go all night when he was younger. And he had some history of night terrors and stuff like that.
Really?
So we just thought it might have been a regression and maybe that transition was a trigger for some of those things. So first couple of nights, we didn't think anything of it. Then it was continuing. So I emailed the doctor and I said, hey, this is going on. We didn't see anything else happening. Everything else seemed fine. She asked a couple questions. She said, don't think it's going to be a long-term issue. I laugh now at that because little did we know. So we just monitored it, but it just continued for a whole week. We couldn't wake him out of sleep. He was in a dead sleep when we tried to wake him up to try to have him go to the bathroom again. And then that's when I was just I kind of knew, because I'm a dietitian. So this is something that's rattling around in my brain that I know that is a symptom of. And I thought this is either type 1 or the rarest time of a kid getting a UTI, which doesn't happen.
Wow, you got diabetes from wetting the bed?
Oh yeah. Because of how it was happening, it was just every single night and the tiredness that he had. And then over the weekend before we were able to get an appointment for him, the Monday after all of this, after a week of this had been happening, he had a daytime accident. And that was actually when I really was this is diabetes because he's 7 years old. That's not typical.
Sure.
And then he was with some family members who said he was drinking a lot and had to use the bathroom a lot. So that all happened in the span of the wetting the bed was a week and a half. And then that daytime accident and the increased thirst was just only a few days. So then he went to the doctor that Monday and that was that. I mean, we found out right away. I told the doctor. What's that?
What do night terrors look like?
So he would wake up screaming and crying and yelling he was just terrified. He was in the middle of a nightmare. And it was odd because he'd have this kind of glassy look to his eyes. So we could tell that he wasn't conscious of what was happening.
Yeah.
And we would have to wait him out. I mean, we just keep him safe because sometimes he would thrash a little bit. And we just kind of waited him out, sat with him. We were there to comfort him, but just kind of let him run its course. So it would happen not often throughout his young life, but there was periods of time where it was happening often enough that cousins slept over. We had to tell them, this might happen. So
has it gone away completely?
Yeah.
Or it has?
Yeah. I mean, once in a while, I think he'll wake up and just kind of not sleepwalk, but he'd be not really awake. Do you know what I mean?
I sleptwalk as a kid. I don't do it anymore. I haven't done it in forever, but does he do that as well?
No.
Okay.
No. So it all kind of, went away. So
and while he's screaming and yelling, you and your husband are looking at each other going, awesome. Diabetes comes with a lot of things to remember. So it's nice when someone takes something off of your plate. US Med has done that for us. When it's time for Ardent supplies to be refreshed, we get an email. Rolls up and in your inbox says, "Hi Ardent, this is your friendly reorder email from US Med." You open up the email, it's a big button that says, "Click here to reorder," and you're done. Finally, somebody taking away a responsibility instead of adding one. US Med has done that for us. An email arrives, we click on a link, and the next thing you know, your products are at the front door. That simple. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. I never have to wonder if Ardent has enough supplies. I click on one link, I open up a box, I put the stuff in the drawer, and we're done. US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Libre 3 and the Dexcom G7. They accept Medicare nationwide, over 800 private insurers, and all you have to do to get started is call 888-721-1514 or go to my link, usmed.com/juicebox. Using that number or my link helps to support the production of the Juicebox podcast. Let's talk about the Tandem Mobi insulin pump from today's sponsor, Tandem Diabetes Care. Their newest algorithm, Control-IQ Plus technology, and the new Tandem Mobi pump offer you unique opportunities to have better control. It's the only system with auto bolus that helps with missed meals and preventing hyperglycemia. The only system with a dedicated sleep setting, and the only system with off or on body wear options. Tandem Mobi gives you more discretion, freedom, and options for how to manage your diabetes. This is their best algorithm ever, and they'd like you to check it out at tandemdiabetes.com/juicebox. When you get to my link, you're going to see integrations with Dexcom sensors and a ton of other information that's going to help you learn about Tandem's tiny pump that's big on control. tandemdiabetes.com/juicebox. The Tandem Mobi system is available for people ages 2 and up who want an automated delivery system to help them sleep better, wake up in range, and address high blood sugars with auto bolus.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, so, really great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I thought life would be like.
Remember when we used to just drink and go out on the weekends?
We would say that. We'd be like, remember what it used to be like? Yeah. But obviously, it's like you can't do that your whole life. But it's just there's all these things that you're not ready for because each family, each kid, each person has their own story. I always say nobody gets out unscathed.
Yeah,
so
I believe that.
This was, it was something we had to quickly learn how to, manage and help him through. And then it went away. And now we're where we are.
I'm sorry for the detour. I was just interested in that.
Okay. I'm with you.
Okay. So you sniffed the thing out pretty quickly. You just call a doctor or do you think it's emergent?
My husband actually happened to have his own annual checkup scheduled. So we actually just asked them if they could use the time for my son instead. And they said, sure. And I'm at work and I knew what time the appointment was. And with my chart, I'm just keeping my eyes on my phone and I saw the my chart message pop up that said you have a new test result available. Mm-hmm. And I saw it and I was like, shit.
Wow. Why does your husband see a pediatrician?
Oh, she's a family doctor. So she sees us all.
Sorry.
He's awesome. Oh, because he's a child. He's my 4th child. That's why.
Well, okay. So it pops up on my chart and you're like, isn't that crazy that that's how you found out?
Yeah. And I know a lot of people might not know immediately, but I can't remember the exact number, but it was over 400. So I was just like, well, that's what this is. So I actually called the office and talked to the doctor while she was en route. She's like, I knew you were going to call. I was like, So
you people who understand lab results.
Yes, I know. But she's amazing. And so we went for folks around here, they'll know Golisano Children's Hospital, which is an incredible resource. We're incredibly lucky through URMC. And we stayed 2 nights and then we came home.
Okay.
He wasn't in any DKA or anything like that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, folks near where?
Oh, near where we live, the Rochester area.
Okay.
It's a gem. We're really lucky to have the resource. So
awesome.
Giving them a shout out.
So in your note, you say that there was confusion and challenges in the early days and months of diagnosis. Do you remember? So it sounds so formal, doesn't it?
I know. I was rereading what I wrote. I'm like, gosh, I was having some feelings when I wrote this.
Yeah, then you went on. You're like assumption. You did use a lot of big words. You were
I
like
know.
assumptions and perceptions of support systems.
My gosh, should I have used smaller words for you?
No, I understood all of them. And a couple of them I looked up. And then once I looked them up, I took it to somebody else and I said, hey.
Right. And you just had to make the font bigger for yourself. Like zoom to 200%.
You know, I saw over somebody's shoulder in the store the other day. This guy's font on his phone was as big as it. I mean, there were 5 words on each screen, you know, like as it went by. And I thought, this is what's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is it.
Well, at least we have the ability to manage. But but yeah, so yeah. I think I'm trying to remember what I meant by that, but it was just like, it depends on where you are, like the information you get, but everybody gets the same kind of basic information. And I know you've referenced it as like the do not die information, which makes sense, right? Like they don't know who these families are, what their capabilities are, what their ability to understand it. So I get it. I think when we got home and we started to realize how many factors outside of just like the basic carb counting were involved, I think I got very frustrated because I was like, well, geez, like now that the dust has settled, I want more information on this because we are intelligent people who want to dive into this. And if you give us the tools, we'll use them. So I think that's probably what I was referencing, because I do think there's a lot that could be done in the early stages or like in the, the 3 to 6 month stage after diagnosis to kind of identify what families are ready for. And there's not really a lot available that's formal, right? There's like, I think I refer to it as like a patchwork of user generated stuff that we're relying on, which is amazing. But sometimes I wish there was something a little bit more formalized. So it's kind of like I can work through almost like classwork because that's how I learn. So I think that's probably what I was talking about.
Yeah, what you want. I find interesting that, I don't know how, you probably wrote that 6 months ago, right? And 6 months later, you're like, oh, I wonder what I meant by that. Like, it's very, I guess, just indicative of how quickly things change.
Yes.
Usually when I bump into people who are more newly diagnosed and they're out of their minds and, they think, I have to answer a lady online today, who just said to me, like, when is the sadness going to stop? Like,
I saw that one.
Yeah. So I have to get back to that one. And I think the answer is, honestly, you're not going to feel like this soon. Right. And it's going to, once you get there, it'll actually be much quicker than you expected it to be.
Right.
It just, I don't know, like you just got to make it your amount of time. And I think it's more about learning and becoming comfortable than, like, I assume that her sadness just comes from uncertainty. Today's episode is sponsored by a long-term CGM that's going to help you to stay on top of your glucose readings, the Eversense 365. I'm talking, of course, about the world's first and only CGM that lasts for 1 year. 1 year, one CGM. Are you tired of those other CGMs? The ones that give you all those problems that you didn't expect? Knocking them off, false alerts, not lasting as long as they're supposed to? If you're tired of those constant frustrations, use my link, eversensecgm.com/juicebox to learn more about the Eversense 365. Some of you may be able to experience the Eversense 365 for as low as $199 for a full year. At my link, you'll find those details and can learn about eligibility. eversensecgm.com/juicebox. Check it out.
I think so. Yeah. And I think that that's another thing that could have been, and I don't know, looking back, it's easy to say this, but to take away some of the uncertainty at the get-go, I think should be nice. It should be a very routine part of this, because I remember even looking back, nobody actually sat us down and explained what this would look like long-term. It's like, get them the tools that they need to, keep him alive.
Right.
And then follow up in 6 weeks and then every 3 months after that. But at the get-go, like nobody actually sat my son down and us at the same time to say, this is what this means. And I was actually the one that had to tell my son that this was forever, because he thought when we were in the hospital, the injections and everything, after we left, they would be done. He thought they were all just to get him back steady, fix whatever was wrong and then go home. So I had to do that, which, I want to be present for when he's being told that. But it was kind of like, wow, we're about to go home and nobody actually said this. So
listen, you knew. But like,
oh yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly.
Did you know that he didn't know, or did it like,
I didn't know until he said something. I can't remember what it was.
Thank God this is over.
Yeah. And his face, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to say it like in this moment because I couldn't let him go on. I don't even know that he was in the room. I mean, because, we're in and out. There's all these people in and out. That was something too that I wanted to make sure, I think in my early note to you, that I am a dietitian. So like theoretically should know a lot about this, but it's still hard for me. Like there's stuff that makes no sense to me still. And I wanted people to hear that, especially for the person who's experiencing sadness, not to make them feel worse. Like, oh, even a dietitian can't figure this out. What hope do I have? But it's like, it's okay. Like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It will eventually be fine. I feel like, I think people have different perspectives on that.
Yeah. I retold somebody yesterday, just very briefly, that I once took a private call from a literal brain surgeon whose kid got diabetes and was on the phone. Like, I don't know what to do. Please help me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the way you just said it, like you see it backwards from me. Like you were like, oh, I don't want them to feel bad that a dietitian doesn't get it all the time. What chance do I have? I saw it the other way. I was like, oh, he didn't get it either. We're all in the same boat.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, that's exactly what I mean is that like that might be a knee-jerk response for people, but that's kind of the point is that it's okay that it's hard, because I think there is a feeling that, especially with the technology now, we can get such tight control. So a lot of the information that I see kind of being bounced around is people trying to get tighter, right? Mm-hmm. Like get that A1C under 6, get it under 5.5, like get it as low as you can. Here's all of the things that we do. For me, I think that's great. It gives me a lot of hope, but I wonder if it sometimes gives the impression to others that that's what they need to be striving for, because for some people that might not be possible right now. It might take longer to get there. And if you don't get it quickly, maybe you feel like you're never going to get it, especially early on when you're trying to get as much information as possible.
You're bringing up something interesting that is a little back end that I'll share here. So when I start making the podcast, I don't really know what it is. Like, that's just fair. Like I've told people a million times, I thought I was going to read my most popular blog posts into a microphone. Like, because I had these blog posts that people found really valuable, and I thought, oh, I'll just read them and then they can listen to them too. I mean, very ridiculous. But it was my thought. That is how I intended to start the podcast. I got away from it pretty quickly. And I've said on here before, like, I think I was 20 minutes in doing it the first time. And I was like, oh my God, no one's going to listen to this. I was having trouble doing it. I was like, if I can't deal with it, like, they're not going to want to listen to it, And, so I don't know what happens. The podcast starts following my personality more and becomes more conversational and me just chatting with people. And then I had this idea that, like, well, I'll be like an avatar for you listening. And I'll just, I don't know a lot of this. So it's perfect. I'll ask questions and I'll assume the questions I'm asking are the questions you would have. And, hopefully you'll like it that way. And I think it built on that. And then, like I've said before, a couple hundred episodes into it, really was like I was always learning on the job. And it started to become apparent from people's responses and letters and everything that people were just saying, like, hey, I don't even know what to say why, but I've been listening to this podcast for a year and my A1C is in the 6s. And I was like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And then, and then you just kind of realized that I had a framework about how I did things. Then people would come on and add their 2 cents or things that worked for them. And that we were basically making a really long-winded manual for diabetes.
Right.
Yeah. And then I go to Jenny and I say, hey, what if I said, I think I have these things. I've written them down. And I think these are the things I do. And then when I do those things, Arden's A1C stays in the 6s.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell people because I think it's unreasonable to ask them to listen to 200 episodes of a podcast to get that information. But I think it'll be crazy if I sit there and talk about it by myself. I was like, I think it'll be hard to listen to, and I'll probably start rambling. I was like, and I love the way you think about diabetes. Like, would you come have these conversations with me? And she was like, yeah, right on. That sounds good. And, and we made that pro tip series.
Yes.
Right. Like, so the way that works is I didn't expect it to work that way. Like, I didn't expect any of this, to be perfectly honest with you. And now we are in a really strange situation, Kirby, because I forget why I started telling you this. Tell me, I know, so just tell me.
I think because I was saying the impression it might give folks about how.
Thank you. We're back, Kirby. Yep. Okay, hold on.
I got you.
So at some point, when you start realizing how it's all building and working, there's this decision for me to make, right? Do I lay it out there and say, if you do these things, you have a really great chance of this working out, and run the risk of making some people feel like I can't do that, or, oh gosh, it's not working for me. I think in that problem lies my theory on all this, which is I think that aspirational is the way to go.
Yes. I totally agree.
Yeah. I think you set up, look, other people can accomplish this. I'm an idiot. Like, I mean, if you listen to it if you listen to the first 5 minutes of this, you can see I'm not.
You're either self-deprecating or calling yourself a genius. It's a really interesting, like, kind of line you up.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the answer again in that is in the middle too.
Yeah.
I think there are moments when I'm like, oh no, there might be something wrong with me. And there are moments when I'm like, I am exceptionally smart. Actually, what did we... Somebody told me the other day, I was sharing my IQ with a personal friend. Oh my God. And I was like, I'm a genius. And they went, that's not how the chart says. And I was like, chart up says you're not a genius, actually. And
so smart, you can't even read the chart.
I also don't believe I'm a genius. I was just joking.
I know it. We know. We all know it. We all know.
Thank you. I do think I'm smarter than some people.
I think you are too. Yes. Yeah. And I think it's okay to say that. Yeah. And your point is so well taken. And I think the reason it occurred to me to say it is because of my work as a dietitian. I often see the way that people consume information and the way that it might land, differently with people. And that was part of the reason that I think I asked to come on, was to say, well, it's one of the, I think I listed 14 things, but it's okay if this isn't the exact right way for you. Like the way that I think the word you used, aspirational, is exactly the way I personally use your information, because it doesn't quite match my full learning style. Because like I said, I kind of want to sit down. I want calculations because I start from then, and then I get more freedom, but I use them as a starting point.
Yeah.
But a lot of people learn like that, right? So I think it's good to know how to use this for your own self.
Yes. There was a moment, I'll be perfectly honest with you. There was a moment where I thought, oh, I've laid it out for you, and then you'll just hear it, and then that will work for you.
Right.
And then it took me a while of interacting with people. I think it's really important to interact with the people you're talking to, so that it's not just my assumptions of what's going on. I'm actually seeing returns, And I was like, oh, not everybody uses all of the information.
Right.
Not everybody agrees with me about that piece, or agrees. It doesn't work that way for them, or whatever. You know what I mean? And then that was a real building moment for me. I was like, okay, so I've laid out here what works for me. You should pick and choose from it like a buffet. Take from it what's going to help you or what lands with you, and then go off and learn some other stuff and build on that somehow. Have your own experiences.
Yeah.
What do I care exactly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what has helped me is that this actually helped me identify questions that I want to either ask my husband about what we think we should do, or to bring to the endo when we go, to say, hey, I'm kind of uncovering some stuff here and applying it to our specific situation. Because honestly, when I found your podcast, it was from another mom who we just randomly got connected with, that we found out that her son had type 1 as well. And she's like, you got to listen to Juicebox. So this was in the early days. So of course you're looking for anything after you kind of come up for air.
Yeah.
And I started with the first episode, then because you have so many, and they're so awesome. So I just started picking and choosing, based on the not very helpful titles, but that's fine. But it's you look at it and you say, okay, I think this is where I'm at today. And so you start to get this feeling of community. You start to hear other people's stories. And that was a warm blanket in the beginning. It was okay, there is so much hope here. There's other people. But then I start going through our actual day-to-day management, and it starts to get a little trickier for me to find information.
Sure.
And it's a little trickier even with because if I'm on Spotify, right, I'm looking for pro tips, and I'm okay, I think I understand this because of my background. I'm I don't really need to know about carbs. I've got that. So then I'm starting to piece things together. And I think when I reached out to you, I was in the middle of trying to sort through how to integrate it into our story. Mm-hmm. I think I've finally found a way that's kind of working for identify issue. It's really just I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to hear, but I also want to say to you, how great will it be to know that 6 months, a year from now, sometimes 5 years from now, someone will ask a question online that this episode will answer. and that Nico will have to tell them, hey, put these nuts in your ears and you'll get the answer.
You can't do it. You just can't,
It's
man.
going to be awesome.
You're either going to get a ton of people to click on it or like nobody.
Most people aren't going to know what it means. Don't you think?
Could it be like To Catch a Murderer? I mean, like, we got to workshop this a little bit.
I know what you were saying a minute ago. It's like, listen, some of these titles are meaningless, and but I know there's.
I love them though.
Yeah, thank you.
I do.
I think of them more as like monikers. So I do see people say like, "Oh, go listen to whatever." Like, and I look at it, and I think, but it's a strange title. Like, who came up with that? It's interesting. So you don't need all the information because you have some of it from your professional life. Mm-hmm. You're picking through. Obviously, every answer is not in the podcast. That's not the goal of it.
Right.
So to kind of finish off my earlier thought, and then we'll move on to what you put together for yourself. I think that the reason the podcast ended up going in this direction is because I have an aversion to kind of lowest common denominator teaching. Mm-hmm. I don't like when we do that.
I feel you.
Yeah. I don't like when we dumb things down because, we don't want to leave anybody behind. I think, first of all, that's reductive to that person. I think that's the second time someone's used the word reductive in the last.
Let's see if we can go for 3.
And I think there's a way to reach that person. I don't think you have to give them less information because you've made some sort of a decision that they can't handle the information. And what about, let's say you're right. Let's say you did find somebody who's just never going to handle the information. Now everybody gets that level of information. Mm-hmm. That's insane. Yeah. Right. So let's lay it out there as easy as I mean, listen, I feel like I do a pretty good job of everymaning this conversation. And I will say, like, for anybody listening who's like, yeah, that's because this is your level. Like, you're right.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not having any grand thoughts that I'm distilling for you. Do you know what I mean? Like the words that come into my head are the words that come into my head. I think I listened to an episode the other day where I said hospital people. It made me laugh. I was like, oh my God, it's a whole episode of me not being able to come up with the words I wanted. And I said hospital people at some point.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But I think that's partly why it works for everybody because it doesn't matter really what level you're at. The way I talk about it, it should be pretty easy to understand. And yet it's not leaving anything out.
Right.
Right. So if you hear something that you don't get that somebody else understands, then that's great. And if it makes you feel badly, I feel bad about that. But I don't think hiding things is the way to go.
I don't think so either. Yeah. And I certainly didn't mean to imply.
No, you didn't.
Okay. So, and I think that it struck me in a moment where I was like, gosh, I hope people know. I hope people know that it's okay if you're not here. Yeah. And I think they do. And I think you do an excellent job of that too, is that it might take some time.
Well, Kirby, I told you all that to let you know that, like, I hope that too.
Yeah.
It was worrisome for me because there was a moment when I made a conscious decision that I'm not going to just, I said this before and I probably have sounded angry about it at times or confused about it at other times, but I think that the diabetes community, at least the one that I grew up in, like writing blogs for and stuff like that, very often hid information from people.
Yes. Yeah. I think they'll still do.
Yeah.
And that's part of my frustration is that and I don't take this the wrong way. Like, I think we need to have all of it. Yeah. But I don't think that there is no other condition like this that I can think of where there is so much management put on individuals.
Right.
There's so much calculation. There's tech involved. There's medication that you're essentially dosing on your own. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
There's no other condition like that. But there is very little, I will just call it formal support. There is your endo. And if you're lucky, you've got a good one. I've seen people who theirs doesn't even answer them when they message them in, maybe an immediate need. And so that should not be the case that we are left to do this in this way. So I guess my point in bringing that up is because I know so many people listen to this, and I hope that somewhere someone is hearing this and says, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we had something that was slightly more formalized so that people could tap into it, especially people who maybe they don't listen to podcasts. Maybe they don't learn this way, or maybe they don't read stuff online. Maybe they don't trust anyone besides their doctor. Yeah. It frustrates me that, can you think of another condition that is like this, where it's lifelong calculating.
You're changing the doses.
Yeah, on your own.
24 hours a day.
God. What if you had to do that like with your heart? What if you were responsible for like, what's the thing called the thing that makes your heart beat?
Your pacemaker?
Yeah, pacemaker. What if you were in charge of calculating?
There was a dial on it. And you were like, I wonder where I should put this dial.
Yes,
I'll try 4.
Like, it would be bananas.
It does feel like that.
So
I saw somebody online the other day outside of my ecosystem, which I think I feel like I actually felt like a douchebag saying that, but I do think there's like a juice box. I do think there's like a juice box ecosystem now, right?
Yes, there is.
And I saw somebody outside of it, and this person is struggling like significantly, talking about like, I don't know that life is worth living. I can't figure this diabetes out. And it wasn't my place to say something. But I could have been like, hey, here's a list of episodes I think they'll help you. And I think they would have. But everybody's so, I don't know, territorial that like, I'm not going to look like because to me, it would be helping somebody. To the person who's running that space, listen, I think this is disgusting because I don't see it this way. And I don't reverse engineer this idea, but I've seen it had a number of times. I've been yelled at about it a number of times. They see it as you poaching their people. And so I'm like, look, I can't get involved in this because I don't want to be like Scott's running around grabbing people out of other places. And this wasn't even Facebook, by the way. And so I don't get involved in that. But I felt terrible for a while after I walked away from that screen. I was like, I really think that this stuff would help this person. And now I'm just left hoping that somebody else gets the information to them.
Yeah. And I think those are the people I'm really thinking of because I think those of us who have found our way to this, there's a reason we've gravitated towards it and stayed there.
Yeah.
But then there's everybody else. And so that's, And
there's a lot of everybody else's. That's my other point that, like, and I'll make this point over and over again. I hope for people listening who are in a position to do something to help people, this will mean something to them. I very likely reach more people with type 1 diabetes than anybody else.
Agreed.
Okay. And I don't reach a small fraction of people with type 1 diabetes. That's a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, whether you like me or not, that's not really the point. I've figured out a way to reach more people than anybody has ever. And I'm not touching a small fraction of people who have type 1. And so there's a lot of people walking around out there. You don't realize it if you're listening to the show and you're like, oh, I got to get my 7 down to a 6 or whatever you think. And there's a lot of people wandering around with 12 A1Cs, more than you think, Oh, I know it's a lot. That's my point, I suppose, is that whoever the big we is, we need to do better because this is. Do you have any idea how to do that?
I've thought about I wish, and so we had this amazing nurse practitioner who just retired, and on her way out, I said, hey, are you going to do anything in your retirement? Because maybe you could, because, most people don't fully retire who love this work as you should do a masterclass for caregivers. And she said that it was something that they have tossed around, but for some reason, I think there was, nursing shortage and there's all these staffing things. So for me, I don't think that that's the only thing. I think it would be a starting point is to establish this as a standard of care, is that classes could be available when, caregivers are ready, parents and the caregivers who are going to be responsible, because obviously my son's not only with us. That they can
that's not going to happen though, right?
I know, but you asked.
Yeah.
You asked. And I think it should be through a hospital system or a doctor's, only because for the most part, I know there's some camps that are kind of anti-doctor and establishment right now, but for the most part, that trust has been established and it could stem from there. But it doesn't even exist, I
was listening to a podcast the other day. I was coming home from, where was I coming home from? Oh, I got to go see the Super Bowl trophies.
Oh.
Yeah. And
yeah, of course you did.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, not of course I did. Actually, that was a great. Can I tell you something? I'm gonna get to the.
It's gonna be good.
To the podcast.
Don't forget where we came from.
Podcast.
Drop some crumbs.
I can get to it. Don't worry. Hold on a second. So my brother and I don't live in the same state anymore. My brother moved away. He's a turncoat. Okay, and for work, I guess something like he had to keep his job. I forget exactly what it was about.
Lame.
Yeah. He had to come back to go to a professional event. And it was being held in the Eagles stadium. And he's like, yo, why don't you come with me? We don't get to see each other enough. He's like, we can hang out for the day. He goes, it's going to be really boring for you. And I was like, right. I was like, I don't care. I was like, we'll get to, we'll hang out. We'll see each other. And I was like, that'll be great. So I moved my recordings around and I did the whole thing. I had to go tell my wife I was taking a day off, which is not a thing. You guys don't know me and my wife. We don't really take time off. So she was like, oh, this must be nice. And I'm like, I know. She's like, I'll just sit here and kill myself. And I was like, okay.
You go enjoy your little
worked myself right into the ground while you're out gallivanting. I'm like, I'm at a conference for something I don't understand and have no need for, right? But I get to see my brother. And Brandon Graham was going to be there. Linebacker, formerly the Philadelphia Eagles, who I believe is the reason why we won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And like a small child, I brought his rookie card with me to get signed. Right? Yeah. Anyway, my brother and I spent 2 hours walking the floor. He's actually working. He's going from place to place, gathering information about vendors they might use and stuff like that. I'm out of my mind bored. I'm like, oh my God, what are they even talking about? But they're doing a raffle and I want to win the raffle. So at every table, I have to get somebody to initial my goddamn card so I can put my thing in for the raffle to try to win the raffle, which I did not win. And that's not the point of this conversation. But I got in this position where I had to start talking to people because why not? And do you have any idea how many people were like, what's Juicebox? Because I had to have a thing on, right? And I'm like, I make a podcast about type 1 diabetes. And they're like, you know how many people are like, my son has type 1,
gosh.
I get so many conversations, right? Maybe 2 hours into this thing, my brother's talking at a table. I've gotten my card signed already. By the way, I'm an adult. I could have just forged the card and handed it in as my entry, but no, I got people to sign the card. I have this feeling that someone's looking at me. And I look over and there is a guy standing in front of me and he is like eyeballing my name tag. And I was like, he probably just is like, what is Juicebox? It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I might have smiled and I kind of looked away. And then a brief moment later, he kind of reappears in my peripheral vision. And I'm like, okay, something's happening, right? So I turn, I go, hey man, can I help you? And he goes, are you Scott from the Juicebox Podcast?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I am. He goes, I guess he's a vendor there. Or he worked for the event, maybe. I forget. And he goes, I saw your name on the list. And I was like, that's crazy. He's like, my wife's such a big fan of your podcast.
No way.
And so he's like talking to me and everything. And it's really nice. And we're chatting for a couple minutes. And then it occurred to me. And I was like, you want a picture to send to your wife? And he's like, yes, please. And I was like, oh, okay, this is crazy. So we take a picture and say thank you and everything and walk away. And my brother goes, what are you, famous or something?
You're like, yeah, in a community.
I said, well, I usually say to people, well, like, yeah, diabetes events I am.
Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't a diabetes event. And I was like,
that's wild. Is that the first time that's happened outside of something connected to type 1?
I have been recognized for my voice once in public.
I could see that.
I had a person beeline across an airport to say hi to me once, and I couldn't believe they even recognized me. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But this was different because I just got back from, like, I went to Friends for Life. I did a bunch of stuff. Like, there's no doubt, like, in those settings, I'm famous. But you take me out of those settings and, like, no one knows who I am. And I honestly prefer it that way.
Right.
But anyway. So we're driving home from that, and I'm listening to a podcast. Watch how I put this all together. This is why I have a podcast and you don't. For everybody listening.
I don't yet.
I was talking to everybody, not just you.
Oh, okay.
And also, don't start a podcast. It will not work. You'll just own a microphone that you have to embarrassingly explain to friends later. Okay.
All right. Thanks for the advice.
I'm driving home and I'm listening to a podcast, and it's a CIA agent who wrote a book. And I don't know, I'm just listening to him tell his story about being a CIA agent. And he said this thing, and he just said, you know, there's the way people want the world to be, and there's the way it is. And that popped into my head when you were like, well, what I wish people would do is like give like master classes on, but there's a way the world is, and there's the way things are for real, you know, and the way you want it to be and the way I want it to be. I wish that person would do that class, right?
Yeah.
But along the way, the hospital's going to say like, wow, we don't want, you know, you don't work here anymore. You're not covered by our liability insurance. Or, you know, not everybody's going to understand, or not everybody will be able to agree on what gets said in the thing. And people will like, you know, go back and forth for years and never come to any conclusions. It's why I like the DIY algorithm stuff so much, you know, like, you know, Trio and Loop and Android APS. Why I think that's so amazing, because it doesn't get caught up in committee. And when it does, somebody just takes their stuff and runs into a different branch and goes, hey, you know what? I was arguing too much with that person over there. Here's my version of this.
Right.
I wish the world would do that more often with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it's going to happen.
No, it probably won't. And the thing is, though, none of it happens if somebody doesn't try to make it happen. Right.
No.
So it won't. And it is. I mean, I guess it's just an expression of frustration because it seems completely ridiculous in my mind. So
I think it all the time.
It's like red tape, bureaucracy, and egos and all of the stuff. It's like, just do the right thing. It's not actually that hard. But
I know no one's going to do it. Because
you live in the real world.
Well, I am a realistic person, but I've been listening to a lot of stuff about stoicism lately. I'm wondering if I don't lean that way. It's not for this right now. I think I believe it's not going to happen because it's easier for it not to happen.
Oh, for sure.
It's proven to me over and over again because of all and I'm glad they do it and they should, but the amount of actual professional people who direct people to the podcast is an insane number of people. So that's them having the same thought that I'm having. Like, look, I could tell you about this, but I'm going to get fired then if I tell you to pre-bolus. I just heard from somebody recently who got chastised, a professional person who got yelled at in a doctor's office for telling somebody that they might have to bolus for a fat or a protein rise. This episode was too good to cut anything out of, but too long to make just one episode. So this is part 1. Make sure you go find part 2 right now. It's going to be the next episode in your feed. The podcast you just enjoyed was sponsored by Tandem Diabetes Care. Learn more about Tandem's newest automated insulin delivery system, Tandem Mobi with Control-IQ Plus technology at tandemdiabetes.com/juicebox. There are links in the show notes and links at juiceboxpodcast.com. Arden has been getting her diabetes supplies from US Med for 3 years. You can as well. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. My thanks to US Med for sponsoring this episode and for being longtime sponsors of the Juicebox Podcast. There are links in the show notes and links at juiceboxpodcast.com to US Med and all of the sponsors. The podcast episode that you just enjoyed was sponsored by Eversense CGM. They make the Eversense 365. That thing lasts a whole year. One insertion every year? Come on. You probably feel like I'm messing with you, but I'm not. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. Hey, thanks for listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate your loyalty and listenership. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The podcast contains so many different series and collections of information that it can be difficult to find them in your traditional podcast app sometimes. That's why they're also collected at juiceboxpodcast.com. Go up to the top. There's a menu right there. Click on Series, Defining Diabetes, Bold Beginnings, the Pro Tip Series, Small Sips, Omnipod 5, Ask Scott and Jenny, Mental Wellness, Fat and Protein, Defining Thyroid, After Dark, Diabetes Variables, Grand Rounds, Cold Wind, Pregnancy, Type 2 Diabetes, GLP Meds, The Math Behind Diabetes, Diabetes Myths, and so much more. You have to go check it out. It's all there and waiting for you, and it's absolutely free. JuiceboxPodcast.com. If you're looking for community around type 1 diabetes, check out the Juicebox Podcast private Facebook group, Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. But everybody is welcome. Type 1, Type 2, gestational, loved ones, it doesn't matter to me. If you're impacted by diabetes and you're looking for support, comfort, or community, check out Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you've noticed that the podcast sounds better, and you're thinking how does that happen? What you're hearing is Rob at Wrong Way Recording doing his magic to these files. So if you want him to do his magic to you, wrongwayrecording.com. You got a podcast? You want somebody to edit it? You want Rob.